Hello again, everyone. This is Howard Cosell, speaking of sports.
You are listening to The Cheap Seats.
Who are these guys?
On Twitter at TCS Willis MSP Detterman, Spreaker and iHeartRadio.
They're here. Here is Steve and Steve.
Oh my God. They found me. I don't know how, but they found me.
Ah, boy, here we go.
Good afternoon, everybody. XERS Radio, and it is The Cheap Seats, the one, the only, right here, right now. I'm your host, Steve Willis. How are you guys out there? It has been a long couple of weeks for me. I don't know why, but it's like the hand of karma has had its thumb of smite pressed just solely on my back. And it all started with a horrible Super Bowl prediction, and we'll get to that a little bit later. But Steve Detterman, not even here tonight. He had to take off to Cincinnati. He's like, dude, I'm out. He's going to see his daughter, actually, and I don't blame him because it was a horrible showing. So in his place, we have the mighty Josh Briggs. How you doing, Josh?
I'm doing great, man. I'm back and ready to roll. So, and man, we almost blew away outside. It was a beautiful day, though, but I'm just ready to get this baby going. So.
Yeah, a little bit windy, a little bit breezy.
A little bit. So, man, oh, man. But, man, talk about karma, but... Man, but it's okay.
Yeah, I've had. Let me kind of break it down just real quick. I had a really rough day, and it started out bad and ended up worse. And then just about 3 hours ago, actually, I broke my phone.
Oh my God!
I broke my phone. I mean, and not just broke like, oh, the screen cracked. Too bad. No, it's like shattered. Like you threw it out of the car and it hit a train, and then it fell off of the train and got run over on the tracks, and then a gopher picked it up and buried it for a week and started gnawing on it. That's how bad this phone looks right now. It's horrible.
Life proof, baby. Life proof.
Oh my gosh.
Man,
it's so bad.
That's horrible.
And it kind of made me mad. At first, I was so angry. I was like, I can't believe I broke my phone. I was this weird combination of mad,
let the expletives
angry,
fly,
embarrassed. Oh, man, I made up words. And
I would have loved to hear that.
And now I've kind of settled, and, a little time has gone by.
And you just
took a breath. And I realized, hey, you know what? I got the extended warranty thing.
There you go.
Whatever happens to it, I just take it in. I get a new phone. It's all over.
And just remember, like I told you this morning, have no fear because Briggsy's here.
Yeah, yeah.
There you go.
But it's funny that this had happened to me because the Peyton Manning story that broke on Monday, and it actually didn't even break, it just kind of resurfaced on Monday with the new allegations from the 6 unnamed plaintiffs versus the University of Tennessee now filing for a class action lawsuit against the university, claiming that they allowed and pretty much everything but encouraged an awful environment and a horrible educational environment, citing sexual assault allegations and other mistreatment of students being pushed under the rug by the university and whatnot. And they actually name a few athletes in the case, Peyton Manning being one of them. So this obviously goes back 20 years to when Peyton Manning was...
He was nobody.
He was a student at the university at the time. And, of course, this also drums up the 20-year-old story of Peyton Manning and an assistant trainer who is now a doctor, by the way. And she alleged that Peyton Manning had, at one point, she had alleged that he exposed himself to her, and at another point, she actually alleged that he had placed his genitalia on her, and all of these things went down. All of these things went down on Monday. My knee-jerk reaction, my initial reaction, I was so mad. I was like, you see, this is what I'm talking about. There is no such thing as squeaky clean. Everybody has something. There's a shadow on everybody. Everybody has a skeleton. You just got to keep digging until you find it. And I was all fired up. I mean, I was ready.
I could tell.
I was ready to go behind the microphone that night. And as time passed by, as things progressed, I've started to gain just a little bit of further insight into my own self, into how I took that, and there was an angle that I was at initially, and now I still think that Peyton Manning needs to just come clean and say, hey, look, there are certain things I've done I'm not proud of. Voila, that's it. It's over. At the same time, you still have to ask yourself, how big of an issue is what he allegedly had done versus some of the other major issues we've seen in professional athletics, especially the NFL, in the last 5 to 10 years, even going back 15 years to the Ray Lewis case, and stuff like that just makes you go, okay, well, this Peyton Manning thing isn't that big of a deal.
But it's just the timing that matters.
Well, I think the timing too, but I think one of the other major factors is the fact that it's Peyton Manning.
The most Teflon, he has a lot of Teflon wrapped around his name.
He is the golden boy. He is Mr. Golly Shucks, gosh darn it. Everybody in the NFL likes him. He's great with kids. The Peyton Manning Foundation, Papa John's guy. You know, he is the guy that everybody loves in the NFL. Even if you're not a fan of the Colts or the Broncos, and you're not a fan of Peyton Manning, you still like the guy because he's just so likable. And he comes off as this, literally comes off as like this Opie,
like, gee,
from the Andy Griffith Show kind of character that, oh, well, you know, I guess I'm just going to go back home and I'm just going to read some more playbooks, and I'm just going to sit there with my cup of Coca-Cola. And, you know, that's the kind of guy that
he's
you
always
think
been
of with Peyton Manning.
But, you know, it's just crazy.
And the thing that spurs me on this a little bit is, if you look at what happened when he was a student in Tennessee, and yes, I'm going to hear a lot of, well, this is 20 years ago. Why are you bringing it up now? Well, think about what happened 20 years ago. 20 years ago, there was no social media. 20 years ago, there was no 24-hour news cycle. 20 years ago, this story got, for all intent and purposes, buried. It was originally brought out. ESPN had their little run with it. There were a couple of newspapers that had their run with it, and then the story immediately got buried. Nobody talked about it. A couple of years later, Twitter comes out. A year later, Facebook came out. There was nothing prior to that would have escalated this story, or at least cycled it around, you know, the NFL fan base. I mean, honestly, and I pose you this challenge. If you're listening right now, ask as many of your friends as you can. A week ago, would you have had any idea that Peyton Manning was involved in a sexual allegation claim when he was in college? If more than 10% of the people you ask say yes, they knew, some of those people are lying. Nobody knew about this. Nobody knew about this.
Shoot, I didn't.
I know Colts fans. That followed Peyton Manning from his rookie year, calling me going, when did this happen? I had no idea this happened. Then I have some going, oh, well, this is 20 years ago, blah, blah, blah. Well, hey, look, if you want to defend Peyton Manning, that's your business. I get it. But let's be reasonable about this. Nobody knew about this. Not anybody to any real extent. But now, let's see what happened to this. Peyton Manning, sexual allegations. University of Tennessee, along with the help of Archie Manning, make it go away. How do they make it go away? They pay the girl. They settle out of court. Then Peyton Manning writes a book, 2003. The same woman comes out again, sues Peyton Manning because he brings the incident up. Now, I pose to you this. Back in 1990, what was it, 94, 95, whatever?
I think it was 94, 94.
Yeah, when Peyton Manning originally, this all got finished, it was done, it was settled. Peyton Manning says, I don't want to talk about it anymore. I don't want to speak about it anymore. I'm done talking about it. I just want it to put it behind me. I've got the NFL draft to think about and all this other stuff. If you want to put it behind you, why do you put it in your book in 2003? Why do you specifically speak about that event, that one circumstance in your book in 2003?
Especially in the prime of your career.
Why do you want to talk about that? It's not because you wanted to put it behind you. Now it sounds like you want to control the narrative. Now it sounds like you want everybody to hear the story the way you're telling it.
And honestly, in that point in 2003, when he was contending for Super Bowl championships and when he won his first one in 2007, honestly, that was not the best time because that kind of stuff is damaging evidence. And with all this stuff coming up now, like when we were talking about the HGH allegations and then now the sexual assault,
right.
All this stuff is coming up now. And it's just like, honestly, I don't really think it's going to do anything except
I'm actually getting to that. I'm actually getting to that. So now we're in 2003 and she sues again because he brings it up in the book. And apparently there must have been a non-disclosure thing in their original settlement. He settles with her out of court again. So now he has settled out of court with the same woman 2 times, once over the allegation, second over bringing it up in his book, in his whatever tell-all that he writes. So both of those times he settles out of court. Now, in my world, I don't know about a lot of other people's, but in my world, if you settle out of court, it's not because you're innocent. You settle out of court because you didn't want it to drag out. Because you know that once it's all said and done, you're not going to be exonerated and you're going to have to pay up anyway and your reputation is going to be damaged. So you just decide to pay up and make it go away. Now, let's move it up to 2015. Peyton Manning on his way out. Not much left in the tank. The NFL knows this. Everybody knows this. And just like any other scene in nature, when something is about to breathe its last breath, in come the vultures. Everybody that has a story, everybody that has any kind of dirt on Peyton Manning will immediately dump it. Why? Because it's relevant right now. They need to bring it out right now because it's not going to make them any money later on down the road. It's not going to give them any notoriety later on down the road. If you wait 5 years and put it out, they're going to say he's not even in the NFL. Who cares?
It wouldn't even be worth it.
Who cares? So they're going to bring it all out right now. There's going to be so much that gets espoused about Peyton Manning in the next 12 months. It's going to be ridiculous. But this HGH thing really has me thinking now. At first I thought, okay, well, it's Al Jazeera News. Not really. I mean, they're
not
kind
a lot of credibility there.
Yeah, well, they're kind of a tabloidy kind of news network. They're not really known for any hard-hitting journalism. And the guy that, brought this out, the guy that, that they interviewed for this special report, he, not 100% sure as to how much access he had to all these professional athletes and whatnot. But why would he immediately flip-flop? Why would he immediately, the minute the story gets released, he immediately says, hey, I lied about the whole thing. I made it all up. I'm going to go a little conspiracy theorist. Just for a second.
Does sound pretty fishy there.
Just for a second, I'm going to go conspiracy theorist. Peyton Manning gets protected by his dad and by the university in college. He protects himself again in 2003, both by settling out of court. Who's to say somebody didn't go to this guy and say, look, you want money, you want notoriety? Here, how about a couple of $1 million for you to tell everybody that you lied and this is all over and done with? And you go away, nobody sues you, it's all done. And it's done quietly. Who's to say something like that can't happen?
It could happen.
Who's to say something like that couldn't go down?
Behind closed doors, I bet.
And this is why, before we start barking up the liar, liar, pants on fire thing with Al Jazeera and with this guy, this former trainer, we need to seriously look at what the NFL is going to come out with. We need to wait for their report, because I have this distinct feeling the NFL is going to tell us a lot more than what even Al Jazeera News did. And the NFL isn't going to allow anyone to control the narrative. They are going to find what they need to find. And they have no reason to protect Peyton Manning, because Peyton Manning is no longer one of their golden boys. He's a former player, but he's not a current player. At least he won't be. By the end of March, he won't be.
So you think that's when he'll retire?
I think he has to, because you got the start of the new league year, March 1st. I'm sure there's going to be some kind of a roster bonus if he ends up back on the Broncos roster by a certain date. So I would imagine it'll happen before that.
Yeah, in March, April, May, somewhere in there. But that's when we'll have to really start looking too.
But I'll be interested to see what the NFL comes up with. I think we need to hold serve until that happens, and definitely reserve judgment. Now, you asked a very good question before we came on. We were talking about this, and you had actually made a statement, something about putting an asterisk next to Peyton Manning for this. Now,
his legacy, yeah.
Now, I challenge you with this, though. If you put an asterisk next to Peyton Manning for this, what do you do for Ray Rice? What do you do for Ray Lewis? What do you do for Jameis Winston? Hell, what do you do for Reggie Bush? And, what do you do for Ben Roethlisberger? What do you do for Tom Brady?
But though,
these are all guys that have had some kind of skeleton pop up out of their closet. And some of the guys actually had on-field instances, or off-field instances, I should say, while they were playing. Ben Roethlisberger, sexual assault while he was a current player. Happened while he was a player. Ray Rice, the domestic violence assault happens while he's a player. Adrian Peterson, child abuse while he's a player.
And then, of course, Deflategate with Tom Brady.
Yeah, I mean, now granted, Deflategate, now you're not getting into anything criminal more than you're getting into, breaking the rules. But that's even another thing. What do you do with that, with Tom Brady? I mean, when it's time really to decide who the best of the best of the best is, which, of course, we're talking about, putting a bust in Canton, I don't think this has any effect on Peyton Manning whatsoever in his football Hall of Fame journey. It has no effect on him whatsoever. None whatsoever. I think the thing that Peyton Manning is the most worried about is what every former football player that has spent a decade or more in football is worried about. What is your credibility after football? Peyton Manning, the only way Peyton Manning is going to be able to do anything in the public eye is if he has decent credibility, because he's no longer going to be a professional player. He's no longer going to be an athlete in the league. So what does he have left? At that point, what does he have left? He has his face. He's got his reputation. So, I mean, what do you do if it's found out that he took HGH and, that last Super Bowl might be tainted because he kind of cheated his way there or something like that.
Yeah, and his defense won for him.
You're talking speaking engagements that are going to go away.
Sponsors.
You're talking sponsorships. You're talking possible other jobs, like being an analyst or an announcer or even a coach or something like that in the NFL.
There's going to be a lot of
stuff like that. Yeah, stuff like that could very well go away. So he has a lot to lose with this whole HGH thing. He has a whole lot to lose. He has a lot more to lose than anybody else has to gain. So Peyton Manning, it's not out of bounds to think that he might try and do something
just
to
huddle
save
him off
his
in a
own
corner.
skin. I'm just saying.
But yeah, probably by May, I think everything's going to come to a head, and we're going to know. So it'll be definitely worth paying attention to. But there's going to be a lot of people that are going to disagree, and they'll be like, "Oh yeah, you're wrong." But I think with the timing, all it's going to do is just wear away some of that so-called Teflon coating that's around him. But, say if it was, 2007, 2008, 2009, when the Colts were in the Super Bowl regularly, I think it would have been a different story if it came out then, because, then he would have lost a lot of his star power then. But I think now, since he's getting ready to most likely retire, which I think he will, I really don't think it's going to have as much of an effect, but it will on his on the after part of his career, no matter what he does.
I think if some of this information would have came out or came,
even his rookie year,
if some of it would have resurfaced during their playoff runs, I think it may have had a negative impact. So there would have been reason for it to get pushed down. I'm not saying anybody specific would have done that. I'm just saying there would have been reason for it to get pushed down.
But I kind of wonder, though, if around his rookie year, if it would have all came out then and just in full force, I wonder what that would have done for his career. If that would have, it'd just be interesting to tell. But we'll never know now. It'll just, it'll just kind of ruin him afterwards, possibly if it all comes out. But like what you said, he might just take them all in the corner and just shake their hand, give them money, and then see you later. Let bygones be bygones. But
never know.
I can't wait till later on this spring to see.
We will find out. The opening drive, which is what that was. The opening drive brought to you by State Farm Insurance. Of course, right now is a great time to double check everything in your financial life because you're doing your taxes. It is that time of year, so you double check all of your receipts. You double check all of your credits, but do you double check your car insurance with State Farm's Discount Double Check? Make sure you double check your auto insurance. Your State Farm agent will go through and make sure you have the best coverage for the best possible price. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. We will be right back in a little bit. When we come back, pitchers and catchers reported, and Kyle Schwarber's already making noise. We're going to talk about that in just a little bit. You're listening to Cheap Seats on XERS Radio.
Hey, how's everybody doing out there? Mel Williams, XERS Radio. Be sure to join me Monday nights, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. for the Michiana Scene. We'll be showcasing local musicians, playing their music, and listening to their stories. And they all have great stories. So come on out to Pleasant Valley every Monday night at 6 p.m. Michiana Scene on XERS Radio. See you then. Wow. Monday nights.
Hey, this is Maximus and the Bartender. Make sure you're checking out our brand new show bringing sports talk to you right here live on X's Radio.
Tune in every Tuesday night, 6 p.m. for all the latest sports news. NFL, baseball, basketball, hockey, you name it, we got it.
And make sure you check X's Radio out on Facebook as well.
You can get there through XERSradio.com.
Danielle Slav from Cheers Pub here. If you're looking for the best live music in Michiana, Cheers Pub is for you. Established in 1982, Cheers has become a well-known venue featuring local, regional, and national acts. Hard rock, metal, indie, and classic rock music is featured weekly on our newly remodeled stage. We have karaoke on Wednesday nights, drink specials nightly, 4 Horsemen pizza, and a full menu to curb your appetite. We're open 3 p.m. to 3 a.m. Monday through Saturday. Located at 103 Dixie Way South in Roseland. Cheers Pub, where friends become family.
Option 5, located in Mishawaka, Indiana, specializes in hand-built boutique guitar effects pedals. Option 5 has been producing the highest quality pedals right here in northern Indiana since 2002, and they continue to create original, non-copy designs today. Option 5 is not simply tweaking popular pedals and then slapping their name on them. They're producing groundbreaking effects designed for guitarists of all styles. And Option 5 doesn't just build cool pedals. They provide top-notch repair service as well. Option 5 repairs pedals and PA equipment, can modify and retube amplifiers, and service or repair Hammond organs and Leslie speakers. If you're looking for the highest quality effects pedals and the best in repair and customer service, check out Option 5 in Mishawaka at 1126 East Jefferson. Give them a call at 574-255-6539 or online at option5effects.com. That's option, the number 5fx.com. Option 5. Let tone abound.
And enter back the cheap seats on XERS Radio. Got a whole lot going on tonight. If you happen to be in the area and you stop by Cheers Pub has Deseverin and Subterfuge and Praise the Fallen tonight. Phoenix Grill has the recent 5-star dive bar, Zero, will be playing tonight. And Saturday, got a whole lot going on Saturday too. Park of Bash will be at the Phoenix Grill Saturday night. Seldom Told, Pour Without, and the Dead List at Cheers Pub and 5-star dive bar, Simple Crush, Saturday night. And remember, if you're looking for something, if you want to be the guy behind the microphone, Saturday night is the night to do it. And the place to do it is City Limits Lounge.
And I will be there in person.
Jay Briggsy is going to be hanging out at City Limits Lounge. You know, I might come down there.
You should, because
I might head down there.
I've been feeling the need to sing a little bit of 38 Special, because you know what? There's been a song of them that I've just been jamming to all week, because it's been the absolute crappiest
What
week.
song is that?
Like No Other Night.
Like No Other Night, 38 Special on
Yes.
That's pretty cool.
It has been the crappiest week, and they've been really getting me through it. And and you know what? Baseball? I'm so ready for baseball. Seriously.
Really?
I mean, we got so many teams that have so much optimism, but...
So, wait, I just want to ask you real quick, what the words to it?
You kidding me?
I mean, you're going to ask me about it. I got to pull it up. Dude.
This night will be like no other night. So we'll segue into that, because we got a big truck race tonight too down in Daytona. So
all right, well we'll save it. We'll have to put that in the back pocket for a little bit later.
Yes.
So anyhow, I may have to do that, but go to City Limits Lounge Saturday night. Have DJ Will Travel. We'll be out there, and it's always a good time. It always is. Very busy. Very busy, so get there early. Get your song list in early and do some karaoke. So, pitchers and catchers reported. And it's already interesting if you're a Chicago Cubs fan.
There's a lot of hype surrounding already, and I think this is going to be their best chance, if any. You know, this whole next year going to be the year thing, and then one pitcher, one catcher away, as Ben would always say, for an outfielder. I think this is the year. If they're going to do it, this is, It's put up or shut up. And, Schwarber, how about that? Showing off his firepower already. Breaking car windows.
Yep, car windows already. There was an actual tweet, it was on Instagram. It was an Instagram picture. GESLERP is the tag on Instagram if you want to check it out. GESLERP. So I don't know if that's Gesslurp or what. But the picture is, a busted windshield. There's a baseball.
That one ain't going to buff out either.
No, you're not knocking that one out. It says, our car is now famous. Kyle Schwarber's home run in batting practice found our windshield. Everyone took pictures and laughed at the idiot who parked there. I did the same. So
if I was Schwarber, I'd personally go out with my Sharpie and be like, oh, here you go. Here's an autograph. And then that'll.
Yeah, I thought that was hilarious. I was like, really? Even the people that parked there, they laughed at it. They thought it was adorable. And I'm thinking, who's going to pay who's paying Safelite to replace this?
I don't know. Maybe send Rico Aber over there in a Safelite truck. Maybe he'll do it.
So anyhow, Schwarber.
That is just so cool, though. Maybe that's a good luck omen.
Yeah. But Carrie Muscat even tweeted it. She had mentioned, be careful where you park. Watch the Cubs this spring. One of Schwarber's batting practice home runs broke a car windshield today. So it was. There were a lot of people that noticed it. So
and that also begs the question: I wonder if they still have the ball up on top of the scoreboard that he hit? Because didn't they encase that? I swore they did.
I don't know, but hey, check this out though. Kyle Schwarber found that picture. And he retweeted it. And I mentioned Safelite, and I swear I did not scroll down before I noticed this. He had retweeted it and said, hey, at Safelite, can you help this guy out? And he had tweeted shortly after that, and problem solved. And he had posted a tweet from Safelite that Safelite will take care of the windshield. Kyle Schwarber is paying for his windshield. So it's a good ending. It's a very good ending.
Maybe give him some tickets to maybe.
Yeah, well, you never know. I think just the notoriety and getting your windshield smashed by one of Kyle Schwarber's batting practice home runs is always a nice way to get yourself famous for about 10 minutes.
A story
and get a new windshield out of it.
A story that you can pass down to generations. Guess what?
Right. But when you look at the Cubs, when you look at this team and how they're built, and now that they've gone one step further and got just a little bit more pitching, they're making that push, I think, to make this the year.
It's gotta be.
And I really think, do you say World Series or bust with the Chicago Cubs this year?
I would have to say so because, they got their firepower that they needed out of Hayward because, he's no 50 home run hitter, but I think, at least 30 home runs you can get out of him, at least on a good year if he stays healthy. That's what you can get out of him. Zobrist, you can get a lot of good defense out of him, get a lot of productive at-bats. But, John Lackey, what a great pitch. What a great pickup, too, to, basically, I think you could say that rotation is complete. So.
Well, if it's not complete, it's far more complete than it has been in the many, many years that I've been watching baseball. I can tell you that. They probably have 1 to 5. Probably the best pitching I've seen a Cubs team have in my lifetime.
As far as I remember, but too, you can compare certain years like 2003, when they had a very productive lineup, 2007, 2008, heck, even last year. But honestly, I think this year, heading into this year, has got to trump all those years.
Well, certainly the expectations are above anything that you've seen in the last 20 years out of the Chicago Cubs. That is for sure.
But one thing to fear is injuries. You need to stay healthy because if you don't, it's going to take all those all of those expectations and just throw them right down the toilet.
Well, and that actually brings me to one of the things that we've seen out of just about every Joe Madden team since he's been a Major League Baseball manager is he somehow, and I'm not saying that he has this magic formula to keep teams healthy, but he tends to keep the guys loose and well rested, and makes it just kind of makes that environment a little bit easier to just go out and have fun and be healthy playing the game at the same time. So it's not such a chore. You don't get guys that are stressed out, and you don't end up with guys that are tapped up and they pull muscles. You don't get those little injuries as much. The big injuries, there's nothing you can do about. If a guy breaks an ankle, on a weird, trying to turn a double play at second, and he breaks an ankle stepping on the base pad, you can't stop that. That is going to happen regardless. But the little nagging injuries because you're stressed out, the tight back and, the hamstrings because you're so stressed out running the base pads because you want to do well, because you're worried about how bad your team stinks, that you're pulling hamstrings and stuff like that because you're just running tight. You're not playing loose. You're not playing that cavalier way that Joe Madden knows how to play, and he teaches that to his guys. I mean, you're not doing that, and that, I think, just kind of mentally puts you in a state of mind that makes it easier to get those little injuries, those little nagging injuries, and those little nagging injuries can be worse because you play with them, so it lowers your productivity. You hear about a guy playing with he's playing with a sore toe, or he's playing with he's a little hobbled with an ankle, or he's got a bad shoulder and he's still trying to throw through
back
it,
spasms,
or
for
back
that
spasms,
matter.
or something like that. You hear stuff like this, and then you see the guy go 0 for the series and just looks absolutely terrible. Or you see the guy, you see a guy on the mound with, a little bit of a sore elbow because he's trying to put a little too much in all of his pitches because he keeps getting shelled every time he goes out there. And so now he's trying to play through it, and he's ineffective. He balloons his ERA over 6 and just looks like garbage and gets pulled. He ends up gets chased out of the building after 3 innings every start. So you have things like that. But you don't see stuff like that in a Joe Madden team. You've never really seen anything like that in a Madden team. Even when he was with Tampa, now here with Chicago, you don't see that. He doesn't have that kind of a mentality in his clubhouse. He has a very laid-back, very easygoing mentality.
In their farm system, too.
And it seems to play well with the kids. And yes, their farm system is very good. So if somebody does go down, you have the opportunity to bring someone up that is maybe not as good, but a really, really close second. And so that's very helpful. So right now, if I look at the Chicago Cubs in the National League, if I look at them just shooting completely from the hip, who could stop the Cubs in the National League from going to the World Series?
And I know I brought up a valid point too earlier. Judging on recent history, they've been keeping this team together, and they've added a few pieces like a Jeff Samardzija. They got Buster Posey back. He's a lot healthier now. Baumgartner, he's ready to go. And that's the San Francisco Giants. And mind you, they won the World Series in 10, 12, and 14. Could history repeat itself in 16? Honestly, if you're looking at the law of numbers, if you're a San Francisco Giants fan, I think that's going to be on your side. However, I honestly don't see it happening because the Cubs, they look very complete and loaded for this year. They are loaded for bear. So
I think the Chicago Cubs are really, when you look at this team and how they're poised to do in the National League, there's only one team, in my opinion, in the National League that really that the Cubs are really going to have to watch out for. And that team's actually in their own division, and that's going to be the Cardinals.
Oh, of course, without a doubt.
That's going to be the only team I think the Chicago Cubs are really going to have to worry that much about. And the reason why I say that is every other team in the National League is going to look up at the National League Central this year. I don't think there's going to be another team that's just going to be able to, that has the offense and the pitching combination. It's just going to be able to bull run through March and April, which, let's face it, March and April are the quirky months where, teams that really aren't that good, they'll get hot, and teams that are really good, they kind of start out sluggish. The Cubs have the firepower, and so do the Cardinals. They both have firepower enough to just kind of get through that sluggish part of March and into early April.
Never write off the Pirates either. Never. So
the Pirates were okay. I'm not that big a buyer on Andrew McCutchen. I'm just not, and they really don't have a ton of depth in that lineup. There's not. You don't look at a murderer's row when you're looking at the Pirates lineup.
They're productive, but not.
Not. But you don't see the power. You don't see as much power. You got McCutchen. You don't have much power after that.
Not really.
There's a few here, a few there. Give me one other 30 home run guy on the Pirates offense.
That's about it, McCutchen.
Right.
So
exactly. So if you find a way to isolate him out of the game, there's not really much else. You pitch around him and you can kind of work that lineup and keep the scoring down. But if you look at the Cubs lineup, you look at the Cardinals lineup, both of those teams, you can't pitch around one person without getting to the next and going, oh boy, what do we do now?
Because you're going to have to pitch around every single one of them because every one of them has a capability of taking you out.
That's my point exactly. So when you look at both of these teams, they clearly look like they're going to be the two teams that are going to head up the National League. I could make a small case for the Giants. I could probably even make a case for the Mets.
Still,
but
definitely.
Really, when you're looking at the class of the National League, I think it's got to be the Cubs and the Cardinals, and I think the two of them are going to duke it out, and it's going to be quite an epic battle this year. There's not much that's going to draw me to April baseball and March baseball, but
it really doesn't.
The Cubs Cardinals series, that would draw me to the television, no matter what time of year it is. That would draw me to the television just because I know that there's a real shot these two teams will be playing in October to either go to the National League Championship Series or the World Series itself.
And I've been so into this rivalry ever since the days of Sosa and McGuire because you always knew when it was that time for them to go against each other, you knew there was going to be a lot of home runs going out because either McGuire or Sosa. And then do you remember back in 98 when the record got broke the first time and it was Cubs Cardinals on a primetime game? McGuire went yard, and then not too long after that, Sosa, he broke the record. So, and I think it was against the Cardinals too, wasn't it? I think it was.
I don't remember for sure.
But it's just it's provided that much star power, and it's been almost 20 years since that. So it's always a good one to.
Well, they're both teams are they're getting back to that now. The Cardinals, give them their due. They've been very powerful for quite a while.
Lot more
especially
at stake.
During the Albert Pujols years. They were incredibly powerful. They were clearly the class of the National League, but now you have the Cubs right behind them and maybe even beside them. And really, after this year, I wouldn't be too horribly surprised if they overtake the Cardinals in that division.
Oh, definitely.
Now let's take a quick look over the American League side. When you look at the AL side, Kansas City, obviously 2 in a row. They're looking to go 3. Who stops Kansas City from making a repeat appearance in the World Series? Who stops them?
I would have to throw the Blue Jays in there, but I would say on a scale of 1 to 10, I would say probably maybe a 7. That would be most likely that they would come back and do what they did last year and challenge in the ALCS like they did. But, the Royals, they kept everybody together, like the Hosmer, the Moustakis. They still got their pitching all together from last year. So, honestly, if you want to win the ALCS, you're going to have to go through Kansas City still.
When you look at a team like Oakland, who last year they had a lot of promise, and they ended up just kind of falling a little bit short. They just a few injuries, a little bit lackluster play, and they didn't look as good as advertised. But a team like Oakland, I wouldn't be too terribly surprised if they make a push. They try and make a kind of a renaissance for themselves this year with the talent that they have already. They last year they looked like a team that really could challenge and make a run at the ALCS, but just they kind of got in their own way. This year, fairly weak division, not a whole lot going on out west. I like Oakland to make a run. Now, I'm not going to say head-to-head in a 7-game series they have Kansas City, but I think if you give any team the best opportunity, Toronto and Oakland, I think, are the two teams that I would definitely put it as far as keeping it close and making a series out of it versus Kansas City. Now, I'm not saying that it's totally Kansas City's championship.
Don't give them the trophy yet.
No, we're not engraving any names on the trophy yet. But I would be interested to see a team step up and play at that level. They're playing far too good, which is really weird because a year ago we're going into spring talking about Kansas City being a one-hit wonder and, it was great while it lasted, and I don't think they have the staying power to do it. And, of course, they did it again.
They proved you wrong.
Right. And, of course, they did it again. And now this year, it's a complete turnaround. Now this year, we're talking about this is, more or less Kansas City's league to dominate, and everybody else is going to have to climb up to meet them. And it's so funny how that just completely flip-flopped, and it's 180 degrees completely from where it was 3 years ago when Kansas City was just a nothing team, and they're looking up at the White Sox and the Tigers in that division. So I like what Kansas City is doing. I like how they're keeping the team together, and they're keeping their key pieces, and they're just kind of adding the complement pieces, left and right.
I kind of wonder too about the Yankees and the Red Sox too. You think?
I don't. Yeah. I'm not really seeing. I mean, if you look at the Yankees are they're in for a lull. A lot of these contracts are starting to come back to bite them now, where they're eating up. I mean, obviously you don't have to worry about salary cap in baseball or anything, but they're paying out a lot of money.
And their age too.
They're paying out a lot of money to older guys. So there's really not a whole lot. I mean, unless New York really wants to clear a lot of, they want to clear a lot of these older. Well, there's no cap. But if they want to clear a lot of names out of the clubhouse, and they want to clear, some of these older players out and bring some new guys in, but I mean, you can't do that. You kind of got to wait till the contracts die, because who's gonna make trades for them?
Not really anybody. I mean, who wants an A-Rod?
I mean, well, and nobody's gonna be looking for. Nobody's going to be looking for like an Alex Rodriguez. Nobody's going to be looking for a Curtis Granderson at his age. Nobody's going to be looking for anybody like that.
The best that they could do would be like a pinch hitter or a DA.
Well, I think you're going to be looking at years in the next few years where the Yankees and the Red Sox are going to be building their farm system. They're going to be building themselves young to make not just one run, but many runs.
So it'd be like
that's kind of what they do. They've been like that. And that being the case, I really see the Orioles kind of being the team in that particular division to kind of step up and dominate. The Orioles and of course, Toronto, of course, being, right now, I think the class of that division. But look at Baltimore. Pay attention to Baltimore. Pay attention to their depth, because I think that's going to be the key to Baltimore. If they can get their depth under control, they can be a much better team.
And then Tampa too.
They're young. They have opportunity. Tampa really needs.
I think they'll be bolstering their farm system too.
Yeah, Tampa really needs to kind of. They really need to start over.
Yeah,
I mean they need to go ground up. There's really not. They don't have a lot to work with right now. They got a lot of guys, but no real productivity.
They had their run of success back in the late 2000s where they won the AL pennant in 2008, but just now it's almost kind of like the Phillies when we were going on about them last year. They waited and waited and waited, and now they got to start all over. And
the Phillies missed their window. They missed their window so bad. I mean, they had enough of a team that they could have made a serious run probably 2-3 years in a row, and they didn't get hot at the right time, and it failed on them.
But 08 and 09 08 and 09 was good because when they won the World Series in 08 and then they contended in 09 and lost to the Yankees. I think that was their time, but now it's just I see your point. There's going to be a lot of teams that are going to be starting over and taking advantage of their farm systems. And
what's really neat is everybody talks about the diversity and the dynamic of football where there's so much parity that everybody can, anybody can be a worst to first story any year. In baseball, it does it, but it does it on like a decades level.
It's gradual.
It does it on decades level. So I mean, when a team gets good, the standard is not good for a year or two. The standard is good for 7 or 8 years. And then they start to fall off. Guys start to get older. Guys start to get
over.
And then it cycles over again. You have kind of a down 7, 8, 9, 10 years, and then all of a sudden you start bringing it back up. And then of course you have the exceptions. You have the 1-year wonders, the couple of year wonders, or something like that. But for the most part, the well-built teams, you'll see them get hot. That'll last for about 7 or 8 years, and it'll burn out, and then they start over again, and they do it. And it's cyclical. It's not as dynamic as football. It certainly isn't as dynamic as the NBA, but it's still cyclical.
And the Mariners,
it's very cyclical.
Do you remember 2001 when the Mariners? I think it was 117 games, and that was like a worst to first thing too because they had that was still when they had Randy Johnson, but they had brought on Ichiro to complement the offense.
Now there's an example of a team that did it, but they didn't do it for very long.
No, it was very brief too.
Right? Yeah, you had 2 years, 2 good years out of them, and then it fell apart rather quickly.
They did,
and. That's an example of how it not necessarily ends up being that long-term cycle for a team, but then at the same time, they kind of caught lightning in a bottle. They caught lightning in a bottle at that point with didn't they have Junior?
They did. They still had
they had Junior. They had Ichiro. They
had Olerud.
Yeah, so they kind of caught lightning in a bottle. They had just the right guys peaking just the right time, and so they did really well for those couple of years, and then it just kind of fell off.
Early round exits in both years too.
Right, but and I think that was kind of a testament to the fact that they weren't well built.
No,
they just looked really good during the season, and there are teams like that. There are teams like that. Hell, if you're a Cubs fan, you're used to that because there's 2 words that Cubs fans cringe every time they hear it, and that's June swoon. And if you're a Cubs fan, you know what that is. That's when June hits, and all of a sudden you just start falling apart. You just lose, you just kind of start going backwards. Things just aren't working out, and you start noticing that with a lot of teams that look good on the surface, but they don't have a lot of depth, or their pitching is only really 2 starters deep or anything like that. Then all of a sudden in June, And in July, when, the length of the season really starts to begin to wear on you, you start to get those few injuries and stuff like that there. That's when you see some of these looks good on the surface teams start falling apart. And the teams that are built well are the ones that cruise right through June into July. And, you're talking August, September, October, these guys are looking great. The Cubs, a very good example of that last year. Another team that, in June, you're used to seeing them fall down. In June, they just kept right on going. In fact, they had one of the best Junes that a Cubs team has had in many, many years.
And then remember how hot they were after the All-Star break? It seemed like it was them and the Blue Jays because out of the first 15 games, I think they only lost maybe 1 or 2 between the two of them. And then they just rode that wave all the way to the postseason.
One thing I've said about baseball is if you're going to build a team, you got to build a team to be good after the All-Star break, because that's where you break away. If you're in the lead already, you run and hide by being good after the All-Star break. If you're not in the lead, you have your best chance of getting into the playoffs by being good after the All-Star break.
Let me ask you this. If there's a team in each league who's on the verge of becoming relevant again, who would it be? Starting with the National League.
How about we do this? We got to get to a break. I don't want to get into that right now because we got about 30 seconds before we got to get into a break here. So, but I'll tell you this: just on the other side of the break, we'll go into that. The teams that are on the precipice of breaking out and being a good team.
Because there's so many of them too, but but there's that are still going to have a lot of work to do. But I definitely know this. If you want to get to the World Series, you're going to have to go through the Cubs and the Royals, in my opinion. So,
oh, definitely. Those two teams, I would almost just start booking your flights to Chicago and Kansas City now. You would have
to, because it's just like if they're doing it the right way. And I still cannot forget, what was that one game? Yeah, Madden took them out to IHOP, and they were they were in their jammies.
Oh yeah, yes. That had to be the funniest press conference.
Yeah, there was like a tweet of Jake Arrieta in a onesie. I'm like, really, dude?
That is so funny. So funny.
We got to get our water.
All right. Yep, we're gonna hit a break. When we come back, I guess I'm gonna tell you the teams that are right on the cusp of becoming relevant again in baseball. Plus, Josh has got to talk about the truck race going on tonight and Speed Week, wrapping it up, getting ready for Daytona. That's all on the other side of this. This is the Cheap Seats on XCRS Radio.
Hey, Linda here, host of MDG's All Access Pass. Do you like to rock? I know you do. How about some metal bands? Great! I have exactly what you're looking for. James Rowe from MDG Music Discussion Group and myself have teamed up to bring you local, regional, and national bands, news, reviews, and of course, shenanigans. Join us every Monday night, 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern, for MDG's All Access Pass. Only on the X. XCRSradio.com.
Option 5, located in Mishawaka, Indiana, specializes in hand-built boutique guitar effects pedals. Option 5 has been producing the highest quality pedals right here in northern Indiana since 2002, and they continue to create original, non-copy designs today. Option 5 is not simply tweaking popular pedals and then slapping their name on them. They're producing groundbreaking effects designed for guitarists of all styles. And Option 5 doesn't just build cool pedals. They provide top-notch repair service as well. Option 5 repairs pedals and PA equipment, can modify and retube amplifiers, and service or repair Hammond organs and Leslie speakers. If you're looking for the highest quality effects pedals and the best in repair and customer service, check out Option 5 in Mishawaka at 1126 East Jefferson. Give them a call at 574-255-6539 or online at option5effects.com. That's option, the number 5, fx.com. Option 5, let tone abound.
From all of the games on our big screens to the best collection of memorabilia from your favorite sports greats, Rock Sports Bar and Grill in downtown Mishawaka has you covered. Our menu features something for everyone. Amazing sandwiches and wraps, and the best burgers around, including the Rockstar Overdose, 2 half-pound patties, served with bacon, cheddar cheese, and piled high with French fries. Like us on Facebook to check out our daily food and drink specials that are sure to be great on your gut and easy on your wallet. We've got you covered between game days, too. Wednesday night is trivia night where you can match wits with your buddies for great prizes. And every weekend, Rocks features great music from some of Michiana's finest artists. Come see why there's no better place to get your fan fix than Rock's Sports Bar and Grill in the Yorktown Center building in downtown Mishawaka. For those who come to Rocks, we salute you.
XERS, Elkhart Internet Radio. Let me hear without a trace.
And we're back to CRS Radio TV. All of your favorite out-of-market baseball games this year. DirecTV. Of course, if you are not currently a TV subscriber, you can go on there, all your greatest baseball and football and basketball and hockey, all of the major sports packages, including NFL tickets. They've got a deal for all new signups this year, 2016. You sign up now, you get NFL Sunday for 2016 absolutely free. And you got that is a $400 value. That is a great. Just go to directv.com for details. DirecTV, part of the AT&T family. So, you asked me about teams that are on the cusp.
Yeah, they've been doing the building, and they started to make some noise last year, but can they get over that hump this year?
Well, I'll tell you, one of the teams that you had said that you thought was going over the hump, I'm going to tell you right now, USA Today disagrees with you on the Baltimore Orioles.
Really?
They actually predict the Baltimore Orioles to finish last in the American League East. And honestly, I don't really see why they would predict them last. I don't know if I necessarily like the Yankees over Baltimore. They have Boston though at 88 and 74. They have
I'm
no
very
love.
surprised on that.
They have no love for Toronto at 86 and 76.
And the Nationals
I think
too, it looks like.
Toronto will be a much better team.
Oh yeah, 90 wins easily. 90. But wow, Washington too, really?
Yeah, if you look at their projections, you can look at them actually at sportsmedia101.com. They have the article right there. They do have Chicago. They have the Chicago Cubs at 101 wins.
That's about right, yeah.
I like that. I would never predict a team to be a 100-game winner. I just can't do that.
This is a no-brainer, though.
I can't do it. No, it's not a no-brainer, man. I just can't do it. I can't predict a team to be a 100-game winner. I just can't. And I don't know why. It's one of those things with me. 100 games is kind of that one number.
It's lofty.
That is really a lofty goal. It is. I mean, you've got to be good to be a 100-game winner. And as much as I think the Cubs are going to be great this year, and I would even maybe go like 95 games, maybe not 100. I can't predict somebody to crack 100.
I'm going 98. There you go.
I like 95. That's
95?
the number
All
I like.
That's a good round number. I wonder what Detterman would think.
I would love to get his opinion on that. I'm sure I will next week because I'm sure he's going to smack me in the head.
Yeah,
What are you talking about?
I'll be there too, so I want to hear it in person.
So anyhow, they do have Houston taking the American League West. Like I said, I give Oakland a lot more credit than what a lot of people are giving him. They don't like him as much. I think really out of all of what they have here, I really like the way they have the NL Central broke down.
It's very accurate.
The West, I like the West, the NL West. I like the way they have that broke down. I think the AL Central, I think it's a little lofty to think that the Chicago White Sox will win 90 games.
No.
I don't know. I think that's a bit heavy. I do see him coming in behind Kansas City, but I see if anybody's going to be a 90-game winner in the AL Central, I think it's going to be Kansas City before it's going to be Chicago.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Frazier's a good offensive pickup for the White Sox.
I do like Chicago at about 80 games, maybe 85. I don't necessarily think that they're going to hit 90. What else do they have here? Toronto, they have 86 games. I like Toronto to be a little closer to 92.
Tampa 83. I'd say maybe more like 75.
They have the Mets at 87, but then they have Washington at 89. Everybody is in love with the Nationals.
I don't get that. I mean, they last year they were the pick by everybody to be the National League pennant winner, but what did they do? They just went.
I don't see somebody sell me on the Washington Nationals.
Yeah, what's so special about them?
I mean, okay, they have they probably have the best pitcher in baseball.
Yeah, but he plays nothing.
But he plays once every 5 games. You know, I mean, what are you going to do the other 4 games every week? You know, I mean, you can't just go off of just one pitcher. Trust me. The Cubs tried to do that with 2 pitchers. They had 2 guys by the name of Mark Pryor and Kerry Wood, and they had nothing else. And all they did was ruin those 2 pitchers.
They flopped big time.
That was all they did. They ruined those pitchers because they couldn't do anything to give them run support. They couldn't do anything to pitch on their off days. You know, you couldn't pitch them every day. So, and you're not going to be able to do that in Washington either. So I don't know.
But you know, it's going to be so hard to see who can sneak out of the woodwork and make some noise this year. But here's another one for you. The AL, the Rangers, because, you know, they still have Hamels. Hamels looks good. You know, they're coming back with another great offense. They got Josh Hamilton back. Josh Hamilton looks good.
Texas has been well underrated last year. I think they would have been. There, you know, you don't really like to do the woulda, coulda, shoulda game.
No, definitely not.
But really, when you look at what Texas lost throughout the year and what they could have been, I think they were way underrated going into the offseason, and because they underachieved, and I think they're still going to be well underrated. And they're being looked at as an 80-win team, which is, you know, not as underrated as what they, you know, could have been. But I think I really like them challenging for the AL West crown. Definitely challenging Houston.
Oh, they'd have to.
And I think they would have a little something for LA and Oakland and Seattle. When you're talking about beating the teams up in that division, I think they're built well to handle a lot of what they're going to get thrown at in the AL West.
And then, you know, too, out of the National League, there's a lot of expectations surrounding the Dodgers because USA Today actually did an interview with Adrian Gonzalez, and he said there's absolutely no doubt in our minds that we can contend. But
there's a lot of doubt in my mind.
But you know, the Dodgers, that's another team that underachieved in the past few years because they had the talent, they had the firepower, but they just didn't close the deal.
So I think if you look at 2 teams, if you want me to give you 2 teams that are right on the cusp of turning into monsters in their respective leagues,
and they could sneak out of the woodwork this year.
I think I would really like. I think I would take Texas and the Dodgers. As much as I joke, I joke that because I have a lot of friends who are Dodgers fans, so I love to give them a hard time.
There you
Especially
go.
one in particular, my buddy Mario, big Dodgers fan. I give him such a hard time. I'm sure he's an avid listener. Hi, Mario. Yes, go Cubs. That's all I'm saying. But I think the Dodgers and the Rangers, just for what we had said, because of the fact that they underachieved due to just not playing well and a little bit of injury last year. I think they're primed to make a push this year. There's going to be a lot of competition, especially when you get into that muddled second tier in both leagues, where you have the Rangers. Let me pull that back up here so I can just kind of go over. When you have the Rangers kind of sitting in there in the same, kind of like right on the same level as, say Boston, Chicago, Cleveland, Los Angeles. I see the Rangers right in that same level, and they're going to be muddled in there. And it's going to be, we're literally talking a game or two going to separate any one of those teams. And when you look at LA, they're kind of in the same boat. You have, in the same league, you've got Pittsburgh. I would even put Milwaukee in there, even though Milwaukee doesn't look like they're going to do anything. It's because Milwaukee always seems to be good when everybody thinks they're not going to be good.
They always find a way to do something because
it's weird because they're one of those quirky teams that you can never wrap your head around. You
and
can
they
never
went all the way
understand why they're good.
Didn't they go to the NLCS a few years ago?
Yeah, just a couple of years ago. They go in championships. They go to.
And now it's just
they
like,
go
what,
to
the
NLCS and you're like you weren't even supposed to be a 70 win team.
How the heck?
How did this happen? So Los Angeles, I see right in that same level as LA. I see Pittsburgh, probably New York, maybe Washington. Like I said, I could even see Milwaukee being in that same level as Los Angeles as far as win-loss. Arizona be another team I could see being right on that same level.
That's my NL right there, no doubt.
And that would make it a little more muddled for LA to try and do something in the National League. So it's really tough when you get out past the top three, because the other teams are going to play so well against each other, and there's going to be a lot of them are close. They're so close to each other. It's tough to choose, especially when you're dealing with 160 games, because as Ron Santo had said one time, he said, you win a third of the games, you lose a third of the games. What happens in that middle third? That's where you win, or that's where you make it, or you don't. So, and it's true. It's very true. And it's really hard to predict. So anyways, we need to move on. We've got to get on to some NASCAR, son.
Definitely, for sure. We got to get some NASCAR.
We've got speed weeks going on, and you even got a high five from somebody on social media.
Yeah, I did. Just a big shout out to Robert Richardson Jr. from McKinney, Texas. Last night they had the Can-Am Duel at Daytona, and it's very interesting to know Robert Richardson, he's a hay farmer from down in Texas. He gets the call from Ron Devine. He's the team owner of BK Racing to drive a fourth car, the number 26, sponsored by Stockett. It's a technology company. And, so he and Matt DiBenedetto, they're both teammates. They both had to race their way in because of this new charter system. You had to make your way in via your speed that you had in the qualifying. And, their speeds were high enough, but they had to race their way in and place a high enough finish in their dual races. And once you know it, they did. So just a big shout out to Robert Richardson for liking our page and liking our post, for the promotion for tonight's show. So hopefully he does well in the 500 on Sunday, because this race to start, it's $100,000 if you finish in last place. So for an underfunded team like BK Racing, that's going to be a lot. It's going to help you with a lot of resources for the year.
So just getting there is a huge deal.
Oh, yeah. And, just wherever you finish, the higher you finish, you're going to get, a lot more money. And I believe
that's really going to help. That's really going to help throughout the rest of the year, too, as far as expanding on the team and getting that technology there for the rest of the year.
And they're getting a lot of help from Michael Waltrip.
So I say dibs on an interview is what I think we need.
Oh, definitely. So, Robert,
bring them on.
So, Robert, if you're out there listening, buddy, we'd love to get you on an interview sometime. So,
absolutely.
But yeah, I just wanted to big time round of applause for him for racing his way into the 500, and I wish him well. That's our dark horse pick.
Good job.
But yeah, I just wanted to throw that out there. But how about it? Speed Weeks again.
So who's our front two?
All right, so for Sunday's race, the pole sitter will be Chase Elliott taking over for the legendary Jeff Gordon in the number 24 Napa Auto Parts Chevrolet.
And of course, Chase Elliott is the son of the great Bill Elliott.
Yes, and it's also interesting to note that with Chase Elliott winning the pole for the race on Sunday, he joins the long list of father-son combinations, actually making this the fourth father-son combination to win the pole.
Who are the other three?
It is Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Dale Earnhardt Sr., as well as Bill.
I knew that one.
Bill Elliott, Chase Elliott,
Uh-huh.
Bobby Allison, and Davey Allison.
Okay, that one I didn't know.
And then also Richard Petty and Kyle Petty.
Ah, yes. I didn't even think about that.
So, yeah, and also there's three father-son combinations to win the Daytona 500. So if Chase happens to win on Sunday, he'll be joining that illustrious list. So, but yeah, we got a lot of races to cover. So, why don't you preview it for us real quick?
Well, I mean, if I preview it, I'll tell you right now, the only race for me is going to be watching the Daytona 500. I mean, you can't look at any of the races this weekend. Even I mean. You of course you had the truck race going down tonight. You've got the
Xfinity race on Saturday.
Yeah, Saturday, and then of course the biggie, the Daytona 500 on Sunday. You can't say enough of how big this race is, and you can see it in the glitz and glamour. Of course, an entire week dedicated to the 500, an entire week dedicated, speed weeks is what they call them. And then, of course, you have the qualifier and then the 125s. I mean, all of this leading up to one race. There is no other race on the NASCAR circuit that they take this much and just pour all this much attention and all of this much fanfare into. And I think a lot of that shows even on race day. The cars roll out with fresh paint jobs, some special paint jobs just for the race, and then all of the pomp and circumstance before. Of course, it's Daytona. So, I mean, everybody knows Daytona. I mean, even if you're not a race fan, you know Daytona 500.
And if you win this race, it will not just change you as a person. It'll stick with you for the rest of your life, because next to your name, you will always have the label Daytona 500 winner. So there's been some upset winners. There's been a lot of usual suspects that have won this race over the years. And how can you forget 2011? 20-year-old Trevor Bayne. And nobody's ever heard of this kid.
From out of nowhere.
Nobody ever heard of this kid. And he drove for the legendary Wood Brothers, taking the 21 back to victory lane in the Daytona 500 for the first time since 1976. Now, there's been a lot of great moments. And real quick, if you're listening tonight and you like us on the Facebook page, I want you to go on and answer this. what is the best moment in the Daytona 500 in your opinion? Because there's a lot of good ones out there. I'm going to throw this one out to you. And, I know you're not a big Broncos guy, but I'm going to throw out the John Elway analogy.
I'm not a big Broncos guy.
But
I'm not a big Broncos guy.
I know.
That's like saying Donald Trump is not very liberal.
I know, but but going back to 1998, who can forget when Dale Earnhardt finally, after 20 years, won the Great American Race?
I would have to say, far and away, that is probably the number one.
But two, also for
me anyway,
giving South Bend a little bit of love back in 2008 when South Bend's own Ryan Newman won the Daytona 500. That was cool too. Oh gosh. And Dale Earnhardt Jr. when he won in 2014, that race I'll never forget either because they had to stop it on lap 30 because there was a tornado warning on the premises.
That is the weirdest thing to think about. Too,
Isn't that strange? But
there's a tornado warning on the track, and as big as what one of these super speedways is, and they are enormous. I mean, we're talking miles of track. It's really interesting to think, and we'll run into this when we get to Indianapolis, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, because the Brickyard is the same way, where the weather is so weird.
You just don't know. In Florida especially. But, 2012 was probably one of the most bizarre Daytona 500s in recent memory because rain set in, which was the first postponement of this race in its 58-year history. They ended up running it on a Monday night, so it kind of had that Monday night football feel to it.
Right.
But it ended up being one of the most highest rated Daytona 500s in history because Juan Pablo Montoya had the accident with the jet blower in the middle of the race, which actually caused a fire on the race surface itself. And then with all the wrecks and just the weather, there's just so many variables that made it a very interesting race. And then, long in the early hours of Tuesday morning, it finally got done and Matt Kenseth won.
So, speaking of which, that actually reminds me, have you looked at the weather at all for Daytona?
Oh, shoot, Steve. The weather's been absolutely perfect all week, and it's not going to let up. If you're heading down there this weekend, it's going to be low to mid-70s all weekend long, mix of sun and clouds, so really no threat of rain. So I think it's going to be another great day for a race. And, if you're watching this weekend, check out your local Fox affiliate on Sunday. Coverage begins at noon. And then also we got to start with tonight because, in my opinion, the Camping World Truck Series race is it gotta be the most wild race of all Speed Week because you're talking the future of NASCAR right here in the Truck Series. You got all these kids, sons of drivers. Wow. It's just, and like 38 Special always says in the song, there is no night like this. There will be no other night like this. So, and I thought you were going to play that song too.
I did. I played it.
But yeah, we got a lot to do with that. So tonight I believe, it starts at 7:30 and it's on Fox Sports 1. So if you got the premium package out there, check out Fox Sports 1. That will go green right before 8 o'clock. And I don't know who's broke that. Last time I checked, they were qualifying. And Austin Terrio, he is a prototype. Brad Keselowski was on the pole. So tonight we'll see if Matt Crafton can keep up his winning ways in that series. So, check it out. I mean, you just don't know what's going to go on in the truck race.
And so this this weekend actually officially brings in your Fast Four.
Yes, and then, with the Xfinity on Saturday, that's another one of the stars of NASCAR's future. But yes, all importantly, Sunday, the Daytona 500. So it's the first round of the Fast Four. So are you ready?
Oh, I'm ready.
Okay, so first off, one guy that is a no-brainer, I will bring that term up again, that you have to keep your eye on, is Dale Earnhardt Jr. in the number 88. He's taken this car called Amelia. He's got 5 victories in it. He won the dual race last night, so he will be starting in the 3rd position. So, yeah, definitely rate Dale Earnhardt Jr. up there as one of your top contenders. And also Denny Hamlin in the number 11. He won the Sprint Unlimited last weekend. He's definitely become quite the plate racer. And then also Matt Kenseth in the number 20. He was supposed to start on the front row, but he got involved in one of the accidents last night. So his car was unrepairable. So he will be starting at the back in a backup car, but never count Matt Kenseth out. And then also another guy that I would keep my eye on would be Jamie McMurray in the number 1. He won the 500 back in 2010, and he's also been quite the accomplished plate racer. So those are your Fast Four. And I think if I would go with the ultimate contender, if you want to win the Daytona 500, I said this last year in the Fast Four for the 500, and I'll say it again, you're going to have to go through the 88 car of Dale Earnhardt Jr. So, yeah, chalk one up for Junior Nation. He's going to be taking Amelia out for another victory dance.
Well, that's and that is the Fast Four. So you've got so let's sum that up. You've got Junior,
Hamlin, Kenseth, and McMurray. Those are your 4. And so stay tuned on Sunday at 12 o'clock on your local Fox affiliate. That's Fox 28 for you guys in the 574. And then also after the race, I'll be bringing back my post-race video blogs to kind of give a sum up on my take on what I thought happened in the race. And we'll be congratulating the winner. And before we wrap this up, bravo to Robert Richardson for getting in there. Just saying that the average Joes, the nice guys, can't actually finish first too. So, yeah, way to go. Go get him on Sunday, Robert, and hopefully the 26th will have a good run.
There you go. Sounds good. Well, we're going to hit a break. When we come back, we're going to wrap this thing up. We are at the bottom of the second hour, and we are turning the corner. So I guess we'd be going into turn 4.
Yep, turn 4. No pun intended.
To use a racing analogy. And yes, because for NASCAR fans, Sunday will be like no other night.
Have you heard those 2 wacky guys, Chris and Ginn, on the Life is Art Also show? They share their favorite songs and their future favorites too. They have live interviews with authors, comedians, artists and musicians, and lots more. They also have a Word of the Week with Mad Dog Ho, the official lexicographer of Internet Radio. Tune in every Thursday, 6 p.m. on xers.com.
Linda here, host of MDG's All Access Pass. Do you like to rock? I know you do. How about some metal bands? Great, I have exactly what you're looking for. James Rowe from MDG Music Discussion Group and myself have teamed up to bring you local, regional, and national bands, news, reviews, and of course, shenanigans. Join us every Monday night, 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern, for MDG's All Access Pass, only on the X, xersradio.com.
Danielle Slav from Cheers Pub here. If you're looking for the best live music in Michiana, Cheers Pub is for you. Established in 1982, Cheers has become a well-known venue featuring local, regional, and national acts. Hard rock, metal, indie, and classic rock music is featured weekly on our newly remodeled stage. We have karaoke on Wednesday nights, drink specials nightly, 4 Horsemen pizza, and a full menu to curb your appetite. We're open 3 p.m. to 3 a.m. Monday through Saturday. Located at 103 Dixie Way South in Roseland. Cheers Pub, where friends become family.
Where do you go when you're looking for great food, a cold drink, and some of the best local live music? I go to the Phoenix, located on the corner of Lincoln Way and Main Street in historic downtown Mishawaka. Thursday nights, it's open jam with $2 well drinks. Friday and Saturdays, there's always live music with no cover charge. Great food, cheap drinks, excellent service. The place to be is the Phoenix.
Hey, how's everybody doing out there? Mel Williams, XERS Radio. Be sure to join me Monday nights, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. for the Michiana Scene. We'll be showcasing local musicians, playing their music, and listening to their stories. And they all have great stories. So come on out to Pleasant Valley every Monday night at 6 p.m. Michiana Scene on XERS Radio. See you then. Wow. Monday nights.
It's Maximus and the bartender. Now all of a sudden, after LeBron goes home, they couldn't wait, Big Daddy. Now Kevin Durant going back to Washington, D.C.?
Wait a minute. Durant to D.C.? I don't see that happening. Ever.
Marion Barry got reelected, remember?
Kevin Durant is not going to D.C. He's not going to. He's not being traded. He's not going to force a trade.
Remember,
he's happy in Oklahoma City with Westbrook.
D.C. where the cost of living is going up and the chance of living is going down.
Tune in every Tuesday night, 6 p.m. Eastern at XERSradio.com.
You're listening to XERS Radio, bringing you classic rock live from Pleasant Valley. Never really, overdone. They throw out there, oh, hey, a few guys might go, like, Blake Griffin. There were trade rumors there. Obviously, we had, trade talks about Dwight Howard, which seems to be a perennial thing anymore.
Yeah, I guess you just don't know with him.
The Clippers and the Grizzlies did make Stevenson and Green ended up swapping places, so they there's a trade. Not really. Lance Stevenson really wasn't. He's the biggest name in that trade, and he's really not, lighting the world on fire this year. So it's not like we're talking about any huge, news right now. Not anything real major. So the good news is that if you're a Golden State fan, you're a happy boy or a girl. Whoever that.
And plus, the record of the Bulls from 95-96 is still very well within reach. 46-4 right now. So.
right now they're actually leading. They're actually outpacing what the Chicago Bulls were at this time during their run. So I think they're, I want to say, a couple of games up right now than what the Bulls would have been. So right now they're leading it. And I got to be honest, they don't look like they're going anywhere.
No.
So I mean, we really could see that record fall this year. It's very reasonable. Is it any surprise that coming out of the All-Star break that Steph Curry is the leader, the MVP leader this year?
Not really. I mean, he's just, like what you said before with the Warriors picking up where they left off. I think he is too. He's putting up those monster MVP numbers. He lives and dies by the three like he always does. He hasn't let up there. So, really no surprise there. And, I mean, if I was you, I would just give it to him. But
I think he's going to get another award that honestly, nobody would really expect him to get this year.
What's that?
And that's actually most improved player.
Really?
And the reason why I say, you normally think most improved players should go to like a bench guy or somebody who didn't play very many minutes last year, or who came off of an injury or something like that. But I really think if you look at Steph Curry last year, Steph Curry this year, he's already taken what was a great game and elevated it to a new level. It's almost a transcendent level. And that being the case, to me, that qualifies as most improved player.
He's letting his performance do the talk. He doesn't really talk a lot of talk. Just, he shows it all on the court, which is what you should do. So
right.
But honestly, too, like the Warriors. They deserve their place up top, but I think there are some teams also that have kind of come back down to earth, and I know you'll go on to that later on. But yeah, for sure, with the Warriors, I'd say maybe 73, 74 seems very well within reach. But you also have to beg the question towards the end of the regular season: will they rest some of their starters? Just for the sake of the playoffs.
I don't think so, because the way the Warriors play, I don't really see any reason why they would have to rest anybody. They don't really work anybody a heavy amount of minutes that can't handle it.
Kind of like how the Spurs do, how they sometimes rest Duncan and Ginobili.
Well, yeah, and a lot of that is because they're deep, but they're deep with all older guys.
They're a lot older, but still they're getting it done.
Deep with older guys. And yeah, they're going to get it done. I mean,
45-9 right now.
What's really crazy is we've kind of come to just accept the fact that the Spurs are the old guy team.
Oh God, yeah.
But they're the old guy team that just wins.
They just keep winning.
They just keep winning. And a lot of that, I give a lot of credit to Greg Popovich too for what he is capable of doing to that team to get them to win. But they just keep winning. I mean, really, you put Manu Ginobili on any other team, and he'd be a peasant. He'd be a regular bench player. But he's a highlight reel on this team.
He's a difference maker.
Yeah. Tim Duncan just centers that team, and I mean that literally and figuratively. He helps that team focus. They're such a good, experienced group, and they play so well together.
Kawhi Leonard too. He brings the youth.
Yeah, Kawhi Leonard is really kind of the flash in that group, and it really helps out a lot. But when you look at a team like San Antonio, and you think about going up against the Clippers in the Warriors in a 7-game series, you got to wonder, especially after playing a long season, you have to wonder how much they're going to have left in the tank, because every year is another year older.
And who's going to outpeak who?
Well, and they've been able to kind of, the last couple of years have been kind of, you can get as far as you can, because you're kind of doing it by hook and crook. Your legs aren't fresh. Nobody's legs are fresh at that point, but your legs are less fresh than your opposing team. The nagging injuries are kind of creeping their way in during the game, and so you're not feeling it when you get into June, and you have a team like Golden State who it doesn't matter if it's October or May. They're playing at the same level.
They just keep going.
Yeah, they don't get tired. They're playing at the same level. They're young, they're good shooters, and they're fast. They're fast. They're fast on defense, and they're really fast offensively. They get set up when, as quickly as they could possibly get set up. They make you backpedal a lot. And if you take on an older team and you run the floor, I mean literally run throughout the entire game, they're not going to be able to keep up.
No, definitely not.
They're not going to be able to keep up. So if we go in a 7-game series, I mean, you have to favor Golden State in a 7-game series.
And going back to what you said about most improved player, what about Kevin Durant? Because he was very injury plagued last season. So I would probably throw it more his way because he's just playing lights out. Him, Westbrook. I mean, they got they're third overall right now in the Western Conference. So I honestly think that OKC they're picking up the pieces and very well, mind you. So they could make some noise in this Western Conference.
I can't seem to I can't grasp onto. Well, I can't grasp onto Oklahoma City. They've been supposed to be so good for so long. It's kind of like the Clippers to me. They're good, but they're not good. They're not good. You don't watch them and go, "Oh my God, they're so amazing."
They're just perennial contenders.
They're there. You know what I mean? It's kind of like if you look at Dallas in the last 5-6 years.
Probably ever since they won the ring.
Dallas. Yeah, you look at Dallas in the last 5 or 6 years, like, but they're there every year. Well, yeah, they're there every year.
I mean, sure, they won the ring.
There's 8 teams out of 7 or 8 teams out of 18 that get in. So I mean, the odds are they're gonna be there. I mean, they're very good odds that they're gonna be there every year. But when they're there, what do?
They just.
The Clippers are the same way. When the Clippers are there, what do?
Wasted space. They hold their.
What I find really funny though about the Clippers is that they're winning without Blake Griffin right now.
Which is what they should be
totally winning
doing.
Without Blake Griffin.
That's what they should be doing.
They have a better record without Blake Griffin than they have with him. I was really surprised when I looked at the trades so far, and I have not heard anything about Dwight Howard. I have not heard anything about Blake Griffin. And Kevin Love is going to stay in Cleveland. That really surprised me too.
Oh, me too. But Jeff Green for the Clippers, that's another good shooter. So,
I don't know.
Give him some good minutes.
So far, really all we've got out of anything is the Nuggets picked up DJ Augustine, Steve Novak, and a couple of second-round picks and some cash. Oklahoma City in that trade is going to get Randy Foye. So that, to me, it makes Denver better, but I don't think it makes them good enough to really do anything. I mean, it's not in the NBA. You don't make trades of big guys, of superstars, in any attempt to build longevity. You do it to build now. I mean, obviously Denver was going longevity there. Steve Novak, DJ Augustine. We're not talking about old guys. We're talking about younger guys there, and buildable guys. The Clippers. The only move that I've seen the Clippers make so far is they traded. We had just mentioned earlier Lance Stevenson, and they picked up Jeff Green from the Grizzlies. Memphis, in my opinion, probably got the short end of the stick here. To me, I'm not a big fan of Lance Stevenson.
Yeah, he hasn't really done
At
much.
any point in the year, his game can entirely go on a milk carton. I mean, this dude will fall off the face of the earth just like that. I mean, he'll be 10 points, 8 rebounds consistently for like 2 months, and then next thing you know, 2 points, no boards. 2 points, no boards. 0 points, 0 boards. I mean, I've seen it.
So he's just out for the minutes.
I've seen it, and that, and with the fact, the history of hijinks with Stevenson, I'm not. Honestly, Jeff Green, I don't even have a stat line on Jeff Green. I think he's better than Lance Stevenson.
He's definitely a lot better for sure. I mean, he'll get some good shots in there, get you some good points, at least 10, 15 a night. A trade
between the Suns and the Wizards, not really much going on there.
Not
Sixers,
really.
The Sixers got into the trade mix. They picked up Joel Anthony. The Rockets end up getting rights to Madabum. I can never pronounce that dude's
It's a mouthful.
It is. Oh yeah, just try and pronounce his first name. Yeah, right. Seriously, take the marbles out of your mouth before you pronounce it. And Pistons and Rockets end up working out a deal. Once again, another role player deal. That's not really that big of a deal. 3 guards end up switching teams in a 3-way trade. The Chicago Bulls get Justin Holiday and a future second round pick from the Jazz. The Jazz in turn get Shelvin Mack from Atlanta, and then Atlanta gets Kirk Heinrich from the Bulls. So the Chicago Bulls have finally dealt Kirk Heinrich.
It was way too overdue.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
That's kind of overdue.
I mean, he had his time in this. He had his time in the stardom, but
honestly,
really
I think
anymore.
if Chicago would have just bucked up and got rid of him 2 years ago, they'd have gotten a lot more for him. Yeah, they just they sold that stock while it was down.
They probably thought that he was just going to come around, but
right,
getting hurt and everything.
Well, I don't know. I think that was one of those things they just kind of wanted to run to him.
But just like Philadelphia, you live and you learn. That's
right. If you think about it, the Bulls, really about the only reason why the Bulls would have hung on to Heinrich is because they had no idea what was going to happen with Derrick Rose.
Yeah,
and
he's such a wild card anymore. But
yeah, and with Derrick Rose now, he's playing, he's not hurt, but how effective is he when Jimmy Butler's clearly the best guy on your team?
And he's owning it for sure.
Right. The Cavaliers get into the mix too. They pick up Channing Frye. Portland Trail Blazers end up getting Anderson Varejao, and Jared Cunningham ends up going to the Magic. Then, of course, from the Cavs. So.
Got a few little bits of noise out there, but
nothing major. Nothing major.
But
Brian Roberts ends up going to the Portland Trail Blazers for cash from Miami. Even the Pelicans got in on it. They ended up picking up Jarnell Stokes.
But for a little bit of prognostications, I wonder. I mean, because it looks like the Warriors, Spurs, and Thunder, and the Clippers they're gonna be in the top 4 for sure. Do you think that anybody's gonna challenge the Warriors out west? Do you really think so?
No, I don't know. There's nobody left to challenge them.
So I would put the Warriors in the finals automatically.
I mean, there's nobody that I think is going to match up against Golden State. I think about their best matchup is going to be the Phoenix Suns, and that's only because they can run with them. They can't shoot like them, though.
And then
it's one thing to be able to run with a team, but it's another if they're draining threes like they're going out of style, and you're struggling to shoot 30% on 3-point for the night.
So they're just they know how they're very well rounded right now, so to speak. And but I don't know.
Well, the one thing that Golden State doesn't have, they don't have a big.
No.
So if you
play small
them,
ball,
the only way that you can beat Golden State, the only way that you can beat them is be capable. You have to be capable of forcing everything inside and using size and length to control the paint. The only problem is nobody can do it. Because as soon as you force it inside, you have Steph Curry who can make plays from the top of the key just as well as he can make plays from the three-point line. So it is almost impossible. It's this weird chess match that you have to get into with Golden State where you're just kind of picking your poison.
And then speaking of chess match out in the East, it's a hot mess out there because, it's such a wild card because do you remember last year how stellar the Hawks record was? But we all agreed they did not play anybody. They won 69 games.
That is exactly where I was going to go with that. The Hawks had a great record against nobody.
But they've really come back down to earth because right now they're 31-24.
Right.
But, you got the Cavs, the Raptors. They're still a very athletic team, but the Celtics really surprised me in the third spot overall. The Heat fifth, but, honestly, that makes me bring up another observation. Have you noticed really the trend of the big three is kind of tailed off? There's really teams aren't doing that anymore.
I think a lot of that I think has to do with a lot of the influx of young talent right now.
Oh yeah, and you really don't need it.
I actually wrote an article about this about 2 years ago that talked about the outflux of a lot of the old guard in the NBA, and then you have all this new talent coming in. We probably have big threes. And I use finger quotes there, big threes in the NBA that you don't even know about because you have all of this young talent.
Like a Curry and an Iguodala. And
yeah, I mean, really, if you think about it, we're going to have teams playing this year, next year, maybe even the year after that we're going to look back on in about 12, 13, 14 years and go, that was a great trio. That was a big three for that time. And we're not calling them that right now because we really don't know what we're going to get out of them.
And they're just not household names like how it was with LeBron and D-Wade.
And it's not just a matter of household names, just there's no proof in the pudding. You have these 1, 2, 3 year guys, they don't have any numbers behind them. They don't have any seasons behind them. They have nothing behind them except for very good college careers. So you really don't have like an NBA resume to park in front of these guys and go, here's your big three and here's why. You can't do with these guys like what you did with LeBron James, Chris Bosh, and Dwayne Wade because those three guys had resumes. LeBron, of course, everybody knew LeBron's resume. Dwayne Wade, of course, everybody knew his resume.
Very decorated.
And then when Chris Bosh came from Toronto, everybody knew his resume. They knew what they were getting. They knew why it was a big three, and they knew how big it was going to be. And then, of course, when LeBron goes to Cleveland, he tries to kind of replicate that with Kevin Love. He ends up bringing in Kyrie Irving, and it just it didn't quite work out the way he expected it.
And then now David Blatt's gone.
And yeah, well, of course, now, LeBron gets his wish and David Blatt goes away. But it's the big three phenomena has kind of reached this stemming point where it's cool to get a big three together. It sells a lot of seats, but it doesn't do anything for the team, and it doesn't make the team better. In fact, in my opinion, it makes the team worse because you have luxury tax and a hard cap and all this other stuff in the NBA. And unless these guys are coming in for veteran minimum, you're really hurting yourself by establishing three alpha male players.
Look at the Celtics, sure, they had that run where they went from a worst to first and they won almost 70 games and won the championship in 2008. But, there were a lot of veteran players, like a Ray Allen and a Kevin Garnett. Now, who was that? Who was the other one that was in there? Pierce.
Rajon Rondo, Paul Pierce.
So it's just Pierce and Allen and Garnett, they were they're the old guys on the block.
Well, that was kind of an odd couple too.
I know.
And a lot of what you saw in that team really was because of Doc Rivers. That was a lot of what that team was, because Doc knew how to handle, like, guys like Rajon Rondo. Rondo has never played for anybody well except for Doc Rivers.
No.
Paul Pierce, the same way. Paul Pierce, attitude problems with everybody except for Doc Rivers. Kevin Garnett, for the longest time, lived just a horrible NBA life of mediocrity. A great player on nothing but mediocre teams. Gets in with Doc Rivers, very good. Which is one of the reasons why Doc Rivers got that job in Los Angeles, and one of the reasons why the Clippers are as good as what they are now. But
because of his rapport with the players.
Right. And well, his ability to be able to take the best out of each player and fit his system with them. And that's exactly why he does what he does, and he picks up who he gets. But when you're looking at the Clippers now, and you're looking at what Doc Rivers needs to do with Los Angeles, I think it starts with saying goodbye to Blake Griffin.
Yeah,
you can see that they're playing better without him.
He's kind of had his time, so just let him go.
I hate to say it, but a lot of people had screamed overrated when they first were talking about Blake Griffin when he first entered the league. A lot of people screamed overrated, and I disagreed for the longest time, just because he was sensational. He was a highlight reel. The guy was chock full of highlight reel.
But he's also chock full of injuries, too.
Well, now he can't keep himself healthy. But that's the big man curse. You're going to have that.
At least it wasn't as bad as Oden.
Ask Greg Oden about trying to stay healthy as a big man in the NBA. Hell, ask Yao Ming. Ask Bill Cartwright.
They just couldn't.
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
They just couldn't stay healthy at all.
Right. All of these big men that always had problems. And then you had the big men that fought through it. And usually guys like, Shaquille O'Neal, they could fight through it and play hurt and stuff like that. But normally,
be like a 50, 60 game season for them.
Yeah, normally it doesn't happen. It's not a common thing for a big man to be able to just fight through injuries, because usually the injuries end up being something that's so painful they just can't keep playing. So, two things that I've definitely established watching the NBA this year so far is that the big three is not as important as what it once was. It definitely is still out there, but it's not quite as important. And the big man in the NBA, the big center, the 7-foot center, stuff like that, it's going the way of the dodo. They're going away. I think the NBA is definitely cherishing the smaller, quick, fast, set up and shoot, lots of 3-point.
Playing the small ball.
They're enjoying it. The NBA is enjoying it because it's exciting. To see 113 to 107.
Up those scores, man.
Yeah, to see a 113 to 107 game is definitely more exciting than to see an 87 to 79 defensive struggle.
Yeah.
So I mean, it really is more exciting to watch the smaller teams going at it back and forth, playing barn burners every night.
And I love seeing Steph Curry light them up every night because he
But
does.
The only drawback to that is the fact that you don't have the teams that slow down and play the 87, 88-point games. Those quick, fast teams, those are the ones that you have to worry about as far as durability and being able to play deep into June with those same players. I mean, they get a lot of pampering on their off games, but still easy to get to get worn out before the season ends. So, speaking of worn out, we've kind of worn out our time here. We're getting real close to the end here. So it's all over and done with. Mr. Briggsy, I do have a question for you before we go.
Yes, sir.
Daytona 500. It is the Super Bowl of motorsports. So, that being the Super Bowl of motorsports, who is, or what is, I should say, what is Briggsy going to be feasting on while watching the Daytona 500?
Well, if you've seen the Daytona Day commercials on Fox, a lot of different recipes, pizza, wings, burgers, beer. Actually, it's going to be pizza rolls and beer. So there you go. Totino's Pizza Rolls. Ring that bell, man.
No shame to his game. Pizza, Tostina, what is it?
Totino's Pizza Rolls,
Totino's
But, if it was warmer outside.
My kids eat those.
Oh, dude, I live off those. But, if it was warmer outside, I'd say, hell, get the grill going. But, this 60-degree day, it's kind of a, one-off thing right now. Unfortunately.
And it's a misnomer when it's almost 60 degrees out, but there's like a 70-mile-an-hour wind.
Shoot, man, I thought we were going to have to call for Dorothy and Toto before we walk in.
Dude,
Good Lord.
Yeah, it was rough.
But, but definitely this is the biggie. But then after that, it's just kind of, week in, week out. So I can't wait. So definitely watch. And then real quick for you fantasy players out there, I got the Fast Four Challenge on Yahoo Sports. If you want in, go to yahoo.com, search for the Fantasy Auto Racing link, join Public League. The ID number is 2893 and the password is NASCAR 16. So join in and you get a title belt out of it if you win.
Oh, so, look at that.
Yeah, so get in there.
Hoist your own belt.
Yes. So get in there. Let's have some fun.
Sounds good.
We're back in business, boys. We're back in business. We're back in business, boys.
We've got a whole lot coming up next week. We're going to get to see the start of spring training. We're going to have talk about Daytona. Atlanta will be coming up after.
Are you ready?
The time comes when a man's got to stop running away and face things. The time comes when a man's got to stop running away and face things. We're back in business, boys. We're back in business. We're back in business, boys. We're back in business.
Prepare for the hatred with my problem solving, my patriot. Gooned up and get tuned up, rubbed off, erased. Stay dedicated and faithful to my camp. What about your camp? Titanium, my loved ones, then get stamped. Staple, remove.
It's Maximus and the bartender. Now all of a sudden, after LeBron goes home, they couldn't wait, Big Daddy. Now Kevin Durant going back to Washington, D.C.?
Wait a minute. Durant to D.C.? I don't see that happening. Ever.
Marion Barry got reelected, remember?
Kevin Durant is not going to D.C. He's not being traded.